Hello, everybody. It is Taylor along with Barb and Jake, and we are coming to you today to discuss part 3 and part 4 of the Voice Blind Auditions, the past 2 nights of competition, and what is shaping up to be a pretty good season. Last night, the coaches picked up some new talent. We are going to get into that. First off, we'd like to welcome Jake, who is finally caught up and who's ready to actually recap with us.
I'm finally caught up.
And it'll be interesting to see his take on this week's talent. So let's go ahead and get it off with the first contestant of Monday night, Rio Salma. Who he was born and raised in Detroit, where Barb is from. And actually worked at the assembly line at the Chrysler plant. He's wanted to become a singer since he was pretty young. He's also willing to leave his job if he has to.
You can't say I blame him.
Anyway, so he sang Cruisin' by Smokey Robinson, and he has a pretty good voice. Really nice falsetto. And Gwen, John, and Kelly all turned pretty quickly. Kelly said that he has an incredible voice, or incredible gift, rather. Blake didn't hit his button because he didn't know which direction to steer him in, that wouldn't have gone well anyway. He's also never heard the song Cruisin'. Who has not heard the song Cruisin' by Smokey Robinson?
I know. That's what my jaw dropped. I was like, how could you not have heard the song? I mean, it's Smokey.
Yeah.
I grew up in
Huey Lewis and Gwyneth Paltrow version. So how do you not?
I grew up in Detroit. How can you? It just bores me. It's like, how can anybody not know some of these like classic Motown songs? And Cruisin' is one of them.
We have to remember Blake grew up in Oklahoma, so
that's true.
Anyway, John gave Rio a lesson on the history of the song. John said he nailed the song and that he sounds professional. Rio said he started singing after watching Sister Act 2. Rio ended up picking Team John. I think it's a very smart choice. I think that John would be perfect for his voice. He has kind of a generic sound, though. I don't know if he'll make it very far in the competition.
He has a nice voice, but why would you pick a song that you don't? You at least want to pick a song you know. But he does have a nice voice. I don't know if he'll go far, but I'm curious to see how he'll do in battle rounds. So we'll see how that goes.
I think he'll do okay in the battles. I think the knockout may be a little bit iffy, but I think he may make it through the battles.
Yeah. And up next we had Ryan Berg. I kind of joined in a little too late because of local breaking news. I think that the Comey Barrett hearing sort of screwed up Monday night show, but we're not going to talk about
it did.
Anyway, he's saying Waiting on the World to Change by John Mayer. After his performance, we got a little bit of his backstory. When he was 18, his mom came out, and his family had a hard time with that growing up in a very religious community. His music got him through the rough time. His mom's his biggest inspiration. I wouldn't have turned my chair for him just because he sounded so generic. He sounded way too much like John Mayer, I think. I don't think I would have turned my chair, but two people turned. Gwen turned and John turned, but of course, John was blocked, so he ended up.
That was a smart move I think that was smart of Gwen to block John on that. I actually enjoyed that that she blocked him.
That was funny. But I think John, I think he may do better in the battle rounds. He's not one of the ones I saw, but I just think he may be one of those. Maybe his nerves got to him just a little bit. So
What I really want to see, I want to see him be original in the further rounds of the competition because he has a great voice, but like I said, he's just very plain and very generic.
Yes.
Doesn't really.
Even I would have told him that if I was sitting in that chair. I would have been like, you sound exactly like John Mayer. Like, their voices are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes think they turn, I mean, I'm just guessing, is that they turn for people that they think they could pair up against a stronger singer and have an easier choice on who to eliminate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think they do that a lot too, but and I don't think he'll make it past the battles because, like I said, he's just way too generic for the show. I mean, he doesn't come off as interesting except maybe his backstory a little bit, but I wasn't a big fan. Up next, we had Becca Cotty. She sang as a child a lot and eventually got a role in the musical Rock of Ages in Las Vegas. Afterwards, she sang back up for Rod Stewart. She's been trying to make it ever since. I didn't like the song choice. I thought it was very karaoke. I don't think she knows who she wants to be as an artist. Way too much belting. You can tell she's been on Broadway or been in musicals and stuff. No one turned. Kelly thought it was wobbly in certain places. Coaches tell her she should come back. I don't know if that's the best advice. I just didn't like her.
I think sometimes they say it to be polite, but I think it was probably the song choice, if anything, because of what I saw earlier that day. A lot of times it is the song choice that prompts them to turn around. So could very well be that.
I thought her voice was shaky in places. Like, I don't know, her voice seemed off a little bit. And I don't know. I definitely think she could have probably picked a better song to sing because I thought her voice was shaky in places.
Up next, we had Just John. Just Sam won American Idol back in May. We have Just John now on The Voice. He grew up singing in church, talked a lot about his mom. His mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. He takes care of her a lot, but hasn't been able to spend much time with her due to the ongoing pandemic. And he talked about wanting to be on Team Legend. He sang Talk by Khalid, which I never really heard before. But I really, really like his voice. A little bit of a jazzy vibe to his voice, which I really like. But Blake was the only one to turn, which I was kind of surprised about. Kelly liked his voice, but wanted to hear more dynamics. Gwen thought it was all in one place, but really strong. John thought he had a great voice. So he ends up joining Team Blake, which
I don't know if that's going to help him.
No, unless he gets stolen in the battles, I don't think he's going to go very far because
He might be surprised.
I mean, you're right. Blake has done well with R&B singers before, but I don't think he'll do too well with Blake.
But it was a very interesting rendition of the song for sure. Like, I've never heard it sung like that before. That was a very interesting rendition.
Yeah, I think he may go far. And it's just a feeling I got, so.
Okay, up next we have country singer Ben Allen. He's 42. He likes hunting, fishing, riding mountain bikes, all that country stuff. He was real close with his brother, who was killed in a motorcycle accident a week before his wedding. He's got a great country voice. Did really well with the song, I think. Blake, Gwen, and John all turned. Gwen said it sounded like a record when he was singing. Kelly likes his talking voice. Blake gets offended because Kelly said Ronnie Dunn is her favorite country singer. And John loves his tone. Blake said he missed the old-fashioned nasally country singer, which is right. That's kind of how Ben sounded, and of course Ben went with Team Blake, which is probably a smart choice for him. He wasn't my favorite audition of the night. He was pretty good. I didn't. It was very ordinary. I think that if he's going to want to do well, he's going to have to. It's going to really, really depend on song choice moving forward.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite of the night either, but I mean, it also wasn't the worst of the night. I mean, it was definitely worse. And yeah, it's really gonna. You're right. If he does want to do well going forward, then it's all about song choice. So hopefully he picks better songs that can showcase his voice more.
Right. I think in his choice with Blake, of course, was not much of a surprise, but yeah, I don't think he's gonna go past the battle.
Probably not. And moving on, we had Kelsey Watts. She works on a showboat in Nashville, but she really wants to pursue a singing career. She sang actually a Kelly song. She sang "I Dare You," and it was one of the best of the night. I really, really, really liked her, especially when she started hitting the high notes, and that's when Kelly and Gwen finally turned. It was, like I said, it was truly, truly amazing. Kelly starts talking about how she was on American Idol, said it was better than her own version. Gwen called her talented and incredible. Kelsey ended up picking Team Kelly, which I think is a really, really smart idea because I really think that Kelsey could end up winning the whole thing.
That was a really good rendition of the song. Like, that was actually really good. And I think this girl has serious, winner potential. I think she can go far. I'm excited to see her in the battle rounds.
Yeah, I agreed. She was my favorite of the night, I think. And Kelly says she never turns for people that normally sing her song, but this time she did. So yeah, I think she could do well, if not in the finale, pretty close to the finale.
Up next, we had James Mays, who is from Memphis, loves animal print. He has a big personality. His mom directed the children's choir at their church. His mom died from coronavirus, and then a few days later, he lost his dad to diabetes complications. He seems like a nice guy, but the performance was a complete mess. I mean, a lot of screeching, a lot of over singing. I was not surprised that no one turned because it was just absolutely awful.
Yeah.
John said he has a powerful voice. John says he has a powerful voice, but there were a lot of control issues. Kelly thinks he needs to be on Broadway. James says he wants to do make a pop and R&B album. I don't think he has any chance unless he gets some singing lessons or learns some control issues, because that was really bad.
It was bad.
Horrible.
Yeah, no, this is one of those times that it was maybe a good thing that Simon's not one of the coaches.
Anyway, moving on. Up next, we had 14-year-old Carter Rubin. They did the same thing they do in the past. They've been doing this a lot this season. They haven't been showing the viewers the person until there's a chair turn. But he sang "Before You Go" by Louis Capaldi, and he has a really, really good voice. He's only 14. He reminds me of a young Jordan Smith, who won The Voice back a few years ago. John and Gwen are the only ones to turn, which is kind of surprising. The coaches were shocked by his voice. Gwen thinks she can help him because she has a son his age. John says he usually doesn't turn for younger people. I think he could really go far, especially he picked Gwen. And if Gwen can help him pick the right songs, and if he keeps performing the way he does, he has great control, very mature voice for his age. But he could win.
Yes.
That's like an incredible voice for a 14-year-old. Like, I would have been shocked if I turned my chair. I've been like, wait a minute, that's a 14-year-old? And that voice coming out of a 14-year-old is incredible. Like, I would have turned for him if I was in one of those coaches' chairs. I would have turned for him. Like, he has a really good voice. And I actually think he'll do well. Like, I actually do feel like he'll do good. And Gwen was a good choice to pick coach-wise. I think that was a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Gwen is one person that I really, really want to see win. I want to see her win out of the coaches this year, and so she got a good one with him. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Up next, we had Casmay, who Barb really, really likes. She's the oldest of, I think she said 9 kids, I think. She started her own mentoring program for young children. She sang "Baby I Love You." She has a great 70s or 80s throwback R&B voice. She has a really great growl in her voice. I was shocked that John was the only one to turn because she was really good. But John said she was real good. Kelly loved the rasp in her voice. I think
Go ahead.
I think she could do really, really well in the competition.
They're going to kick themselves because I think she's going to be in the finale.
I kind of feel like she was holding back a little bit. I guess we'll see. I hope that she like belts out more in the coming rounds. Like, I felt like she was holding back a little bit, and I'm surprised that, John was the only one that turned. I thought like maybe Kelly would have turned or Gwen would have turned. Like, I'm surprised John was the only one that turned.
Yep, and I think it's a smart choice too. But yeah, I think Casmay could be in the finale. She's one of my picks. But
anyway, so moving on. Up next, we had Michelle Moonshine. She grew up listening to 70s music. She had an opportunity previously to audition for The Voice, but she didn't end up doing it because she got pregnant. She's a single mom now, coming back to audition. She sang Carolina on My Mind, or Carolina in My Mind by James Taylor. I actually really, really enjoyed it. I'm really surprised that nobody turned. I really didn't get it. Blake thinks she sounded a little timid. Gwen loved what she did. Kelly said she wanted her to show her range more. There are a lot of times where I'm really surprised when somebody doesn't turn.
I feel like she should have picked a different song. I guess I enjoyed the performance, but I think maybe if she had like picked a different song, maybe she would have had chair turns. Maybe, I don't know. The other thing was, for me, it was kind of hard to. I feel like she was holding back a little bit because I didn't catch the words sometimes when she was singing. Like, I think she needs to. I think I would have told her to work on her voice a little bit more, just because I didn't catch some of the lyrics when she was singing.
Yeah, I think this one came down to song choice. It was definitely that was probably holding. If she, like Jake said, if she had sung something different, then maybe they would have turned.
And the last audition of Monday night was Dez. She discovered she could sing when she was 11. Soon after her mom died, the first time she actually sang was at her mom's funeral. And she also sang in the Kanye West Coachella choir. I don't know if I would have told that because of Kanye, but anyway, she sang "Unbreak My Heart" by Toni Braxton, and I thought it was really, really good. I loved kind of the low alto R&B voice. I thought she did a really good job with the song. Kelly and Gwen, actually it was a 4-chair turn. All 4 coaches eventually turned, and actually it left us kind of in a cliffhanger. We ended up not seeing who ended up picking her until last night. And in the end, she joined Team Kelly, which I think was a pretty good choice. Singers like her either do really well or don't go very far at all. I really hope that she does well.
I think
Yeah.
she has winner potential. I think she has winner potential, but I think I'm surprised she picked Kelly. I thought she was gonna pick John because John is more of like a John's more of like R&B singer. So I think the smart thing would have been to go with John, but I don't think Kelly was a bad choice. I'm excited to see how she does going forward. I actually think I predict that she's gonna get stolen in the battle rounds. I feel like the judges are gonna be fighting for her in the battle rounds.
Probably I mean, she's not one of the ones I saw, but yeah, I think Jake's right. She could possibly be a winner as well. There was a lot of good performances so far, but she was awesome, and I think she wanted to do something different than just pick John because John more or less probably has a lot of R&B singers, and she probably knew that instinctively. So it was a smart choice to go with Kelly.
Anyway, up next, or the first person from last night, we had Olivia Reyes. She's half Dominican and half Puerto Rico, so her family's very cultural and deep into their roots. She had never sang in public before, but her best friend actually signed her up her best friend actually signed her up to audition. Anyway, she's never sang in public before. Her friend signed her up for her audition. And actually her friend's dad is season 2 winner Jermaine Paul. She ended up singing Falling by Harry Styles. I think she has a great voice. She hits the high notes very well. She's very current, which is good. John and Gwen both turned for her. John said her tone was crystal clear. Gwen said it's not only about her singing, but also her story, and she loved her on Team Gwen. Olivia tells the coaches that her friend's dad is Jermaine, and Blake seemed really shocked. I bet he regretted not turning, considering that Jermaine was on his team. Blake, of course, tries to get her to go to Team Gwen, but Olivia ends up picking John, which I think is a pretty smart choice.
Incredible voice. I thought she had an incredible voice. Like I would have turned if I was in a chair. I would have turned. Like I thought her voice was really good, and I'm excited to see how she does going forward.
Oh yeah, she was good last night. She was really good, and yeah, I can't wait to see what else she sings coming up.
Yeah, she was really good. I can't wait to see what happens next with her. Up next was 56-year-old Tony Mason. He has been singing for decades, actually had a group with his brothers. They had a number 2 song on Billboard, but there were issues with the label and they ended up getting dropped. I really liked his voice. He sang What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Real old school vibe going on, but of course he's 56. The performance was great, but nobody turned. Again, another surprising nobody turned. And I guess it's because it's getting later and they're really wanting to save spots on their teams for really incredible singers. But like I said, he was really good. Blake backed away from his button because he wouldn't be a good fit for his team. John said his vibrato reminded him of Donny Hathaway. Gwen really didn't like the runs, but like I was really surprised that he didn't get a turn, at least one turn.
Agreed. I thought he was gonna get at least one, but I was sad that he didn't get picked. But like you said, it's getting close to where their teams are full, so they're probably being a little bit more choosy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did have a nice voice, but I think they were probably saving spots for like really good people.
Yeah, and it's getting to that point in the competition, really. Up next, we had Sam Stacy, who we really didn't see in the beginning. He was working at a bank and playing music after he graduated college. But he ended up moving to LA to pursue a music career. It was another blind audition for us viewers. He sang "Fire and Rain" by James Taylor, which is a really good song. I really like his authentic folk sound. I thought it was really, really good. Finally, at the end, after he starts going up into his upper register, Kelly, Blake, and Gwen turn. Kelly wanted to see more range and said that if he picks her, she's going to sort of take him out of his comfort zone. Blake said he's friends with James Taylor. He would be proud to be his coach. And John loved the warmth of his voice. In the end, Sam picked Team Blake, which with his style is probably the safest choice. I don't know how far he'll go. I think it depends on whether or not he actually can pick a lot of original song choices and maybe make a few songs his own, whether or not he goes far in the competition.
I liked his performance. I'm not surprised he picked Blake. I think it would have been interesting if he had picked Kelly too, just because Kelly likes to push people out of their comfort zones. I would have been interested to see how he would do, like going out of his comfort zone.
Exactly.
Up next, we had Lariah Jackson. She's only 15 and has been singing since she was really young. Her dad left when she was 2, but she ended up connecting with several biological siblings who were fathered by the same person. She sang the Mariah Carey version of "I'll Be There," originally done, of course, by the Jackson 5. She has a really, really good voice for her age. I really like the maturity in her voice. Never heard it sang in the octave she sang it in, really. It was kind of lower than normal, but I really, really, really liked it. She's not my favorite so far, but she's pretty good. Glenn was the only one to turn, so she's on so Lariah is on Team Gwen, which I don't think she'll last on Team Gwen. And in order to do well, she'll have to be stolen because she's just not the right fit, I don't think, for Team Gwen.
I thought she had a good voice. I'm surprised that Gwen was the only one that turned. I thought that maybe some of the other judges were going to turn too, because I thought she had a really good voice. I think she has potential, but again, like Barb said earlier, it's really all about song choice. Like she needs to I think she needs to pick better songs.
And Gwen has said often that she wants a daughter. So this is probably as close as she's going to have to having a daughter. So she really wanted her on her team, and I think she's going to do well. I loved her story, though. It kind of reminded me of like the one show that was unfortunately canceled.
Yeah, almost.
But yeah, and but I hope I kind of hope she surprises everybody like on upcoming rounds and stays longer.
Mm-hmm. Up next, we had Van Andrew. He's the second oldest of 10 kids. He recently moved to Nashville to pursue music, but then there was a really bad tornado, and then, of course, after that, coronavirus. He sang "Behind Blue Eyes" by The Who. He has a really, really, really original alternative voice. He brings something really different to the show, which, like I've been saying since last week, I really want to see somebody that's different, very original when the season, as opposed to things we've seen in the past before. And I think he could do it. Gwen and Blake turned at the same time. The only two to turn. John compared him to Fabio. Kelly found the performance pitchy. That's why she didn't turn. Gwen likes his unique voice. Blake said his voice was nothing like he's ever heard before. Van ends up going for Team Gwen, which I think is a really smart choice considering his style. I think that Gwen could really, really help him go far in the competition.
I liked it. It was a good performance. Very interested to see how he'll do going forward. And I think I think going with Gwen was a good choice too.
I agree. And I was laughing at the Fabio comment, but yeah, it was he was good, and I think he's gonna do well with Glenn too. So if I were to be on The Voice, I think I would go with Glenn or Kelly. I don't know why. I just like the way they are.
And
I would go with Gwen or Kelly too.
the last performance of the night came from Tanner Gomes. When he was 7, him and his mom were in a pretty serious car accident. Due to her injuries from the accident, his mom actually got addicted to opioids. And Tanner used music sort of to escape from the struggles he had, having to grow up fast and basically be the one that sort of helped the family out at this time. But now his mom is clean and sober, and she was there virtually during his audition. He sang Cowboys and Angels by Dustin Lynch. I love his 90s sound. I'm a big fan of 90s country. So is he. And he has that voice. And with there being a lot of throwback acts lately, like John Party and Midland, who are sort of a throwback to that 90s country sound, he did really, really, really well. Blake didn't turn because he has too many country artists in his team. The other 3 coaches ended up turning. He ends up going for Team Kelly, which I'm really, really happy about. I'd really like to see Tanner go far just because I loved his style. I love 90s country.
I'm not a big country music fan, but I have to say that he was one of the best of the night last night. He definitely stood out, and I'm excited. I'm actually excited to see how he does, even though I'm not a huge country music fan. And I think going with Team Kelly was a wise choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like Jake, and that I like some country, but I'm not as big into country as Taylor is. But yeah, no, I think he'll be good. His voice was good last night. He was one of the favorites of the night. So, I think he's gonna do well in Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is it for the for all the performances. Who was your favorite of the past 2 nights?
Um, I have to say my favorite was Kelly. There's the Showboat Girl Kelly. I think that this girl has serious winner potential. I really do, and I'm gonna be rooting for her.
Mine is Casme, but I'm a kind of a fan of hers right now, and I think she's gonna go far. Can't wait for you guys to see the battle rounds. But yeah, she's my favorite, but also like the kid too. I think he's gonna go really, really far.
For me, it's a toss-up between Kelsey and Carter. I think they were easily the 2 best of the last 2 nights. Both of them have really, really good chances at winning. I cannot wait for the battles, and I think that they're actually going to start in a couple weeks.
I think they may start next Tuesday, because they said Monday's maybe the
It's gonna
last of
start
the
on Tuesday.
battles.
Tuesday's election day, so I don't think they're going to have a show.
Right.
Wait,
And
did I say Kelly? It's Kelsey.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
She's on Team
but
Kelly.
yeah, the election is gonna mess with my show, The Voice, so I will be mad. No, but yeah, the
Monday,
shows that I saw for the battle rounds, because I did see some of the battles will air on the 9th and the 16th. Some of the people I saw, so that's what I'm really waiting for.
okay, yeah. But anyway,
But
that is it for our show. Tune in next week as we discuss what happened during the final blind auditions of the season. As for our other shows, tomorrow we will be back to discuss Group C of The Masked Singer, as well as
yay!
About time.
I know.
Baseball ruins everything.
I'm so happy the Dodgers won the World Series so we could get them.
Oh, me too. I posted go Dodgers because I wanted him to win, so at least it wouldn't interrupt Massinger tonight. I was hoping so bad, but
I'm going to have to stay off social media tonight because I work and we have the Masked Singer and also the Big Brother finale. So
yeah,
Oh, and Amazing Race is tonight too.
yeah.
in the Amazing Race. So I have a lot of work to do before tomorrow. Until then, make sure you follow us on our social media pages, which are posted in the description of the video.
Somebody's got a message.
That was my dad. Anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow.